So we're going to look at how we can have code run again and again and again to solve some kind of problem. Okay, and the simplest way to do that in Java is to use something called a while loop. And the way a while loop works is we have the keyword while. We then have a condition. So while the condition evaluates to true, the loop will run. So in its simplest form, we could write while true, and our loop will essentially run forever unless we find another way of making it break. And then we write the code we want to happen. So if I print out something like hello, and I run this code, it will print out hello pretty much until I stop the program running. So we could just see that happen here. Okay, and you can just about see that it's just continuing to print it. So I'm going to stop the program because that's not what we want. We obviously want it to stop at some point. So the way we get it to stop is to have some way whereby this condition can become false. So what we might do is, let's say we want to print out hello 10 times. We might create some kind of counter. So we could use an integer. We could say int count equals 0. And then we could say, while the count is, say, less than 10, print it out. Okay. Now, obviously, unless we change count inside the loop, it's still going to run forevermore. And it's probably even going to point that out if we hover over there. Yeah, it's saying that count is not updated inside the loop. So it knows, IntelliJ is telling us that this is not a good idea. But if we go inside the loop and we increment count by 1, like that, then what will happen is count will be set to 0. This will evaluate the first time, and count will be 0, so it's less than 10. So that will be true. It will print hello, and count will go up to 1. We'll then go back to the start of the loop. This time count is 1, which is still less than 10, so it will print it again. Eventually, however, count will become 10, so count will no longer be less than 10. This will be false, and we'll move to here. Okay, and then our program will end. So let's run that and just see that happen. There we go, and we can see, and if we were to scroll through here, we would count a total of 10 hellos. That's the simplest sort of form of while loop. There are a few things to be aware of. One is that this counter has to exist outside the loop, okay? Things that are created inside the loop, if we create something inside the braces, it can't be accessed outside. So let's firstly see what happens if we try and move this inside the loop. Okay, it's going to say, well, I can't find count. So this while statement, this bit of it essentially needs to rely on variables that are outside the loop, so that's no good. So that must exist here. And then the other thing we need to be aware of is, if we change and declare, if we declare something inside the loop, okay, so let's say we create a new variable for whatever reason, we just say string test equals test, okay, so we've created this inside the loop. We can't access it here. If I wanted to try and print that out, it's not going to appear. Okay, it's not going to be available to us. It says cannot resolve simple test, and that's because this is declared inside these braces. And whenever we're working in programming and we've got structures like if statements or while loops, then we'll find that things that are declared and created inside those braces can't be accessed outside. So if we wanted, for example, to set the value of this string variable here to a new value, we'd have to declare it first outside the loop. So we could do something like this: string test equals an empty string, and then we could say, well, let's reassign that a value. We can say test now becomes test. So if we print it out at the end, we know that we've gone into the loop because test will now say test as opposed to being an empty string. And that's okay. We can access it inside the loop because it's declared outside the loop. The other thing we need to know about while loops is there's another way of getting out of a loop, okay? And that is to use the break statement. So we saw the break statement in our switch statements. We can use it in while as well. So what we might do, for example, is let's get rid of our little bit of test code. And what we'll do is we'll ask it to count up to 10, but after each time it's counted, we'll ask our user, do you wish to continue? And then we'll create or we'll use the scanner. I haven't got a scanner. I could create my scanner in here, so I can say scanner equals new scanner system.in, and then I could say string response equals scanner dot next line, and I'll put type y so they know exactly what we're looking for. We'll keep it simple. We'll put type y or n. And then what we could do is say, in fact, actually, I'm just going to change this slightly. I'm going to say type 1 to continue. Okay, and instead of reading the next line, I'm going to read the next integer, because we haven't quite looked at how we compare strings yet, and it's a little bit different to comparing numbers. Obviously, it's not a string anymore, it's an integer. Okay, and then we would say if response is not equal to 1, we want to exit the loop, and we can do that by using break. So if I run it again now, it says hello, because we've left that in. It's counted up. It says, do we want to continue? So if I say 1, response will be equal to 1, so we won't go to break, and we'll get hello printed again. Okay, now eventually we'd get to 10 and we'd run out, but if I type in a different number, then response won't be equal to 1, so this will be true. We'll get break, and we won't finish getting the rest of our hellos. Okay, so break is a useful way to getting out of a loop. If we specify that our loop starts with while, if we do a loop like this, while true, then we must exit the loop with a break clause. Otherwise, the loop will run forevermore. So unless you, for some reason, want the loop to run forever, if you've done while true, then you must exit the loop with a break clause.